I was looking at a red button that said "Stop Broadcast," waiting to start broadcasting, and apparently I already was. So if that laugh came a little late, I don't know. Sorry, maybe not. Zero Cool, one of my favorite people on the interwebs, is with me early today. I didn't shoot the link out to a lot of people, and who knows what we'll get into, but we're going to get into something right off the bat that is probably not what you expect us to talk about right off the bat. And what that is I'm going to light up a doobie here, Zero. And I want your opinion. You said something that, because I'm a Marvel kid. I liked DC. Don't get me wrong. While you're talking,
we're natural enemies. Just kidding.
Yeah, well, and you could say that. You could say there was a big debate. It really was when we were young, DC or Marvel. But while you're talking about this opening idea, I'm going to get up and I'm going to get my best Batman stories ever. It's a book about this thick. And it's
the greatest Batman stories ever told?
I've ever told. Yep, you own that, huh?
Volume 1, where it shows Batman coming at you from a kind of a bird's eye view. I've got to see that. I haven't had that book in years. I used to have it. Unfortunately, it was stolen, which pissed me off. Because that one was printed right as the Michael Keaton. Yep, that's the one. That was the first edition print from when Michael Keaton was Batman, and they started having the Batman Mania 2.0.
Oh, and this has stories going back to the 1940s, man, with all the good art.
Do me a favor. Find me the Hugo Strange story where you show Batman using a gun and killing an insane man. I want to make a
it's in here too. Let me see if I can find
I want to make a quick point to that to people before we get to the crux of what
Hugo Strange and the Mutant Monsters. I think it is.
That's right.
Page 37. Let me look.
Yep, show that picture of Batman shooting someone. We're going to get this shit out of the way once and for all, people.
All right, let me see if I can find it here. And I hope this is the right story. There's a few Hugo Stranges, but we've got Batman.
It's the old 1940s style.
Oh yeah, very very old art. The real deal to me.
Okay, people, if you can see that, I want you to know one thing.
Yeah, right here, Zero.
Right there. Batman has killed people.
Yep.
There's a reason for it. It wasn't Batman was a vigilante. He was not an agent of the law at the time. And when the Comic Book Code Authority came in with Robin the Boy Wonder and all that, that's when they made him more person-friendly and adopted the no guns code as part of his morals. And since then, and I'm not talking the movie universe, people, and since then, Batman has literally broken his no-gun rule once to save the entirety of the DC universe in fighting against Darkseid from the New Gods. And he killed him square dead and then got sent back in the time because of it. But that's the story for another day. So if anybody says, yeah, Batman uses guns, yes, he did. Now he doesn't. I don't know if he does in the New 52 or the Rebirth series. I stopped reading once that stuff came out. And yes, in the movies, it is different because it is there is a need for it. Batman would use guns as a last resort to defend himself when all other means have been exhausted. So put that to rest once and for all.
Well, and you've got Batman. Let's look at this realistically, in an unrealistic way, because we're talking about comic book characters. But you can say, okay, Batman don't use a gun. He's got Batarang. He has so many weapons of death that to say that he doesn't use a gun. What the fuck do you mean? Would you rather have your throat cut or your heart pierced with a Batarang? Is that better than a bullet? Or what?
Yeah, and Batman's actually killed in a few of the movies. I mean, in the first one with Michael Keaton, he killed the Joker, although indirectly. He knocked a few guys down the bell tower. They died. They weren't going to survive that shit. And Batman Returns, guy wants to beat the crap out of him. He sticks a little bit of a bomb near his belt, walks away, dude blows up. Batman has killed, but he hasn't always used a gun, and he doesn't use a gun unless it's the last resort. I want you guys to take notice of what my icon or my avatar is. That is Captain Cold from the Flash series.
Yeah, Captain Cold. Yeah, that's badass.
He is a basic blue-collar criminal, but he has no hesitations to kill, with the exception of women and children, and he has a very strict moral code, about the same as Batman for a reason that he has it. So I liked the Zero Cool that you had with the kid with the glasses from the movie, but I got to give it. This one is 10 times better. In fact, you have an icon that I hate you for because I wish I would have thought of it. But let's segue into, I'm going to screen share something here, and it's very important we're going to segue into that, if that's okay, Ogre.
Oh, of course. You know what I was going to ask you anyway. Yeah, rock and roll, baby.
Let's look at this. Wonder Woman has biggest opening ever for a female director. Wonder Woman has made history with the latest film in the DC Extended Universe exceeds expectations at the box office, bringing in $103.1 million. And it beat the shit out of the 50 Shades of Grey, which only brought in $85.2 million. Wonder Woman is the first major superhero film to be led by a woman, and it was a woman who helped the film to reach the top of the box office this weekend. Yes. This is great. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman is simply perfect.
Oh, man, is she ever. Oh, my, look at her. She's almost as hot as Linda Carter. Almost.
And she's Linda Carter approved. Linda Carter has literally given her blessing to this movie, to Gal Gadot's interpretation. And this Wonder Woman is based off the New 52 and Rebirth. That's fine. It is a DC cinematic universe. There are things that are going to change. You can't have everything exactly as you want it. And in no way have I ever felt this movie was bad. I've been looking forward to this movie since she premiered in Superman, Batman, Dawn of Justice, and in 2016 Suicide Squad. And there's a reason for that, because Wonder Woman has been long overdue with getting respect and being given her due.
I agree with that.
The outfit's wonderful. That is, I remember people bitching from day one about Gal Gadot being Wonder Woman. Okay, the woman's ex-military, so shut up. 2, she's beautiful. She is what Wonder Woman is, what Linda Carter still is and was back in the day. She has hands-on training, gun training. She actually knows how to fight. She's very diplomatic. She is a model, and she is an all-around good person.
Yeah, well, and it goes. Yeah, okay. So you're saying that Wonder Woman is all-around good person?
No, Gal Gadot and Wonder Woman in general.
Okay, I was looking at the chat and talking to a couple other folk, and here comes Big Clint. Clint, we're going to talk about some other stuff later, but keep the political stuff. Did you see Wonder Woman before we break in on Zero Cool? Because I'm sure he's not done with his idea. Did you see Wonder Woman this weekend?
I am in the superhero movies and stuff, so I do like that kind of stuff. I just didn't happen to see that one.
Oh, that's cool. And we're gonna let Zero go because there's this big thing going on right now, and I want to get him right into it. Okay, Linda Carter approved of this woman. I can't even try to say her name, mate, so I'm not gonna.
Gal Gadot.
Gal. We'll just call her. I'll call her Gal.
Yep. Call her Gal.
Gadot. And there's this big uproar been going on for about a month that this woman is too beautiful, fit, and that maybe they should have went with somebody like a Schumer. Like
that's
probably enough said. What do you think about that?
Bullshit. People are upset because they do not know the history of Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was born on Themyscira, or Paradise Island in the old TV show. She is basically eating fruits, real meats, real vegetables, none of the shit that we eat in modern day. So she has no impurities of food in her body, no bullshit GMOs or anything. She's been trained since day one, and she is royalty. So she's not pampered. That's just, and there's also the thing about Themyscira Island, which is, Paradise Island. Their time has stopped. They live outside our time. So they are at the age they're at, even if they're thousands of years old, they're still going to look young. They're still going to look pretty. They're still going to be athletic, and they're still going to be lean and trim warriors to an extent. So everybody that thinks Gal Gadot was a poor choice doesn't understand what Wonder Woman should look like in the first place.
Yeah, and a timeless hero, a timeless doggone Amazon hero. Anyway, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, and Linkara has said it best. If you guys don't know who Linkara is, go to YouTube, Atop the Fourth Wall, check out Linkara and his reviews on Wonder Woman. perfectly done. Writers over time, with the exception of a few, Gail Simone definitely being one of them, have been unable to figure out how to do Wonder Woman, because basically Wonder Woman is the spirit of truth. Wonder Woman is about truth. She's about being honest, upfront, compassionate, and loving, and is supposed to be an inspiration for us all. The reason this movie is done so well is because we are so sick and tired of the grim and dark superhero. This movie has some dark coloring to it, some sepia tones, but for the most part, it is bright and vibrant and visual. And Chris Pine is freaking great in this movie. Gal Gadot's great in this movie. Everybody in this movie is just so much fun, and that's why it's so great. It's enjoyable.
Well, and you called me out on spoiler alerts, but could you, without spoilers, could you give us like an example of what made this a brighter, better? Because I haven't seen it yet. I already told you I don't want to get. Okay, so let me lay it on me.
What made it brighter was the overall tone. Patty Jenkins is a great director. She kept it fun. She kept it light. And there were battle moments, but they were done respectfully. There were characters that were done respectfully instead of Zack Snyder's touching stuff and mucking it up, or even Michael Bay touching stuff and bastardizing it. Patty Jenkins was the perfect director for this. Period. And it's got bright colors of the uniforms and outfits at everywhere, and everything is visually representative, or has a visual representation. Sorry, a visual representation of what it should be.
Yeah, I can't
without
wait to
touching stuff.
Because I'll tell you,
and
I'm so sick of the Michael Bay stuff. With all due respect, that I want to see something a little more realistic, even though it's fantasy.
Yeah, and Wonder Woman's outfit is the best. I've bitched at people for this. That's exactly what an Amazon warrior would look like. They are of Greek descent, and they will have that outfit. I love the old school Wonder Woman, but when you have to redesign it, this is a great redesign. It is perfect. Now, Zero,
correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't the mythos of Wonder Woman really go back to the island of Lesbos?
No, that's rumor, and it's pronounced Lesbos.
Well, I'm just going by what my gender studies professor told me about 20 years ago.
Your gender studies professor is an idiot.
No, I might have been 20. Yeah, no, she is. I won't lie. I think I told you, and I'm not going to go into that now. But what we discussed for about 3 days Wonder Woman, and the only thing they had to say was what I let off on this is that, Wonder Woman's unreal. Listen, is Batman realistic? Can I be Batman tomorrow? Can I go out, whoop ass, and sew myself up and be all broken up and like go back out the next day and be kicking ass?
Nope.
It's supposed to be unrealistic, something we should attain.
Well, let's look at it this way. Could a person go out and be Batman if they won the lottery and was a multi-billionaire? Yes, but they would also have to be realistic, like they've done with Batman in the long run, to have allies to help him cover up his secret identity, keep his secret identity secret, and to work with him. And he would have to be an agent of the law. I think that's one of the reasons that even though it's just a Batman movie and it's a fantasy movie, that the reason that The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger works so well, besides the casting, is Morgan Freeman is Lucius Fox. He knows Bruce Wayne is Batman. He ain't telling anybody. Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon has his back, and I bet damn well that Commissioner Gordon has always known he's Batman. He ain't saying shit. But he's got also Alfred, who knew he was Batman. He's got people in his corner to say, hey, look, this is great, you're going out and doing stuff, but let's keep yourself level-headed. You need allies. And to have Batman running around by himself is just a shitstorm of trouble.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too far off of
Batman's
Wonder Woman,
but I'm rounding back to that.
Yeah,
Batman's
I don't want you quite
character.
yet, Zero, because what I want to ask you, did you see any of Gotham, the series that is out now? Okay, so you don't like that one, huh?
Oh, no, absolutely not. And why am I still presenting? I shouldn't be presenting.
Oh, sorry, because I forgot to turn you off, brother. That's why.
Okay.
I'm just looking up here. You're off now.
There's reasons I do not like Gotham, but they're all strictly from story perspectives.
Yep, and the only thing I like about Gotham is Alfred. I do like
Alfred is great.
I do like that character, but the rest of it, man, with the cat. Anyway, so we can round back to
rounding back to Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is an Amazon. Amazons are people of legend and of Greek mythology, but she still has allies. She has Steve Trevor, even if he doesn't know she's Diana Prince. She still has Steve Trevor. She still has Etta Candy. She still has all the people of her island. She has the She has the approval of the United States Army. She has allies, whether or not they know about her secret identity, to have her back. She has never been a lone wolf like Batman. But no, it's just a story. It's just a modernized legend of the Greek mythos. And what Wonder Woman presents, no matter if you're a man or a woman, is how good you can genuinely be if you want to be, no matter what. And the only thing that, no matter what all the naysayers have said about Gal Gadot or this movie, the only time I've been genuinely insulted is when the United Nations gave in to 60+ thousand women who bitched and got Wonder Woman, the icon, that disrespected Gal Gadot, Linda Carter, all the DC fans, and the character of Wonder Woman. And God rest his soul, if her creator, William Moulton Marston, was alive, that would have insulted him too and made him die again for having her removed as an international ambassador of a strong woman that little girls and people of every gender or sex preference or male, female, doesn't matter, can look up to her and say, I identify to Wonder Woman. This is why she's great. Just as much as I like Batman and this person's great.
I've got to read this
That pissed me off.
This is from the Gundam pilot. Dum 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 Wonder Woman. It was just so funny. They wrote it in all dums. And what? And if I can ask, if you put it in the chat, what do you mean by that? Did you think the movie was dumb? And before we go on to that, Zero, what did you take away from the movie that did make you want to be a better human being? Because that seems like the thread that you were on, that these things help us to aspire to be better than we are now.
I think that one of the biggest, since I've always been a DC kid, and Linda Carter she's still gorgeous, but she was actually somebody I had a crush on before. I've always taken away from Wonder Woman that no matter how poor the comics have been written or how bad the stories were, Wonder Woman herself envelops equality. And that was one of the things that I had ingrained in my head since day one of how to treat people. If I like you, I like you. If I don't like you, I don't like you. But it helped that, you know, as I confess to people, yeah, my daughter's a lesbian, and it's like, yep, you're my kid. That's all there is to it. And Wonder Woman had ingrained in me since being a little boy to love people for who they are, but to treat them to basically follow the rule. If you treat me good, I treat you good. If you treat me like crap, I treat you like crap. And that's what Wonder Woman has always given to me. Wonder Woman has always tried to be the spirit of truth, always has been the spirit of truth, and to have truth in your lives for accepting things as they are, not what they should be or could be, and to make the best out of nothing.
Yeah, we got something else right here. We got, I got to bring it up again because I want you to rant on this shit if you can, Zero. I hate to put you under pressure, so that's all I'll say. We've got this Beyond Stepwise, or excuse me, Brian Brand Stepwise. UN protesters were all jealous or all upset, I'm sure, jealous and upset about her waist size. Do you remember? That's why I was also in love with Linda Carter. Her waist was about this big around, and her ass, I can't even put it in the frame, was this wide. Her boots,
Oh, that was the outfit for the most part.
Well, true, but I have to say that the way that they packaged her was an unreal goddess. What's wrong with that?
And that's the crux of the whole United Nations things. People didn't like how she looked. Again, relating back, they didn't know who the hell Wonder Woman is. And again, that's insulting to Linda Carter. That's insulting to Gal Gadot and all the fans, no matter if you're a man or a woman, gay or straight, doesn't matter. If you love Wonder Woman, you love something about Wonder Woman, you will defend her as a character and as a knight. And God damn it, my daughter adores Wonder Woman. She grew up with watching Wonder Woman on VHS tape. And she says, when I grow up, I want to be just like her. And I said, when you grow up, you need to be the best you can be, because that's what Wonder Woman would want for you to be if she was real. And she goes, okay, Daddy. And damn it, she has. She's going in the Air Force. So fuck all the haters.
This is such a good conversation. It's so awesome to be joining up in church here and listening to all this good stuff, because I didn't even really know that there was a whole lot of controversy. I kind of on the periphery.
I can barely hear you, Review.
I'm going to turn him up right now. Go ahead, Review. I'm going to crank you up right now. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, sorry. I was just saying this is a wonderful conversation. I didn't exactly know, or still know, I guess, all the hype, controversy around it. I just thought it was another movie, you know what I mean? I was kind of planning on seeing it or whatnot, but it's very interesting that they're so judgmental of her figure, of all things. You know, that's kind of like this whole thing of just watching the left kind of cannibalize itself is pretty cool because it's like, oh, well, she looks too good. Wow, that's crazy. So you're going to judge her for looking too good? You know? Interesting. Anyway, go ahead. I'm doing.
Well, no, it's fine because
Well,
this is one of the problems is they say it's unattainable. And I hate to cut you off, Zero. This is kind of your. What I'm going to do is while you continue to talk, Zero, I'm going to pop up a picture of Batman, and let's say, is it possible?
Bring that counterpoint up because I will.
Is it possible that we could look like this? Is this attainable for a 42-year-old ogre to go out? Is there any way that this is ever going to be me? Is the question, Zero, or anyone? Look at this. Striations, unreal striations.
That's actually his armor. That's not fair. Scroll down a little bit. Go to now. Okay, scroll up a little bit. See that one? Not stop. Did you that one right there? Go down, over, where Batman's pointing his fingers in the blue and gray suit, right there. Go to that.
I mean, me and Ogre, we don't have hair.
It's gonna be hard to get through that.
No, that's fine. You can scroll down anywhere. Well, see, when he's wearing that, that's basically what he's wearing. That's like the Adam West version of an outfit. That's not body armor. But no, that's not unattainable. But you've also got to remember that Bruce Wayne had been training since age 9 to be that built. And hell, Lou Ferrigno, who I know on Facebook, is still that good shape, and he's in his 60s.
Yeah, Lou Ferrigno's. Okay, so not unattainable, but you see where I'm getting at.
Yep.
So what they're trying to do is they're presenting us something we should strive for.
Exactly. It's not unattainable. Go again. Do me a favor, Ogre. Bring up Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. We'll talk about that, and I'll put some chops on that.
Ogre and I can't grow hair, so we demand that all superheroes be bald.
Oh, you're just looking in the wrong spots. They're bald superheroes.
I am Lex Luthor.
There's actually quite a few bald superheroes that can pull it off.
I'm offended because all the villains are bald, right?
Just do your research. There are bald superheroes.
Oh, I know. I'm just messing around.
You're distracting me now. I'm just getting up. It's hard because look, they're so hateful of this gal. I can't say her last name. Gal Gadot. That it's hard to actually find a picture of her like this. I'm not kidding. I'm looking right now, and
that's making me want to see it now that they're hating on her so bad.
Oh yeah, they're hating on her because what did I do wrong? Stop. Hang on now. I'll get this. I've got 3 screens now, folks, so I'm trying to work through how to do the stuff I used to do, but it's hard to, I mean, as you can see, I look at all these pictures of and this is one of her, but it's very difficult to find one. You can see of a lot of them are just headshots or very covering up the fact that this is her figure right here.
That's her natural figure, and that's what they're pissed off about. But you've got to remember, Gal Gadot is not an American. She is Israeli, and they have a different food source. And she's ex-military, so she's trained. And when she was a model, she didn't have the muscle definition. And get that fucking off the screen.
Okay, sorry. Good Lord have mercy on my soul. She is so smoking hot, dude. I'm fapping.
But the thing is, when she became Wonder Woman, she trained. She rebuilt the muscle that she had when she was in the military. So for people, and the outfit is great. So for people to get pissed off, they don't know their history of Greek mythology, they don't know their history of Wonder Woman, and they don't consider that where Gal Gadot was raised and what she's done with her life. So
what do you like? Do you like this one or this one, Zero?
They're both the same. The other one's more in truthful intent of what the color is. See how bright that is?
Oh yeah, I love it, man. Oh my God.
See how bright that is?
She's a Jew. I just love her. We could make Jew babies, man. If you hear me, Gal, I would love to make some Jew babies with you. I'm a little fat. But I'm a conscious.
Ogre.
Oh, sorry. Was I speaking? I thought I was muted. Sorry. Go ahead.
She's not. I don't think she's Jewish.
Well, she served in Israeli armed forces, and I believe that she, at least, I'll have to look into it, but I'm pretty sure she is.
And I could be wrong. So let me share something.
And I hope you know, Zero. I don't mean religious because I'm a Jew. I'm Jewish, but I've never been to temple in my fucking life. I'm Jewish because my bloodline goes back to Abraham. That's why I'm Jewish, and so I do believe that she's from Israel, and I do believe that she is a blood Jew. What am I trying to say here? Her ancestry is Jewish. I'm almost positive, But like you said, she was in the Israeli armed forces. She knows Krav Maga. She's actually one of these human beings that. Hi, Britisher. We'll get into some politics in a second. We're talking about Wonder Woman and a little bit of comic books right now.
So let's finish this off since he's chomping at the bit. The people that are hating on her, and hey, for one, I'm glad Zack Snyder did not direct this. God bless you, Patty Jenkins. You did a wonderful movie, and I can't wait till it comes out on Blu-ray. I've seen it twice already.
Agreed.
Gal Gadot is wonderful. Chris Pine is wonderful as Steve Trevor. He brings that levity to serious situations. The only issue I had was why was it not set in World War II, but that's fine because it plays into the DC cinematic universe to where Bruce Wayne says in Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, where have you been all these years? Well, she's apparently been doing something, and she skipped on World War II, but she was in World War I, and that's when she made her appearance. Storytelling-wise, that's perfect. That's all leveled out and makes sense. People don't have to bitch.
Well, we got to remember, like you said earlier, that Wonder Woman, the mythos of Wonder Woman is that she comes from an island of timelessness. She does not age, so she could have been in whatever, and that she's still Wonder Woman. So,
long story short, to finish this up, all the people that are hating Wonder Woman, and God condemned the UN because they pulled this shit. They owe her and Linda Carter and all the fans an apology for removing her as an ambassador to little girls and kids and women all over the world. They don't know the history of Wonder Woman. They don't know the history of the Amazons and Greek mythology. They don't know how perfect that uniform is because that's exactly what Wonder Woman would wear. To all you haters out there, fuck off. You can't stop this movie.
And we don't have to hurry you off this right away, Zero. I not want you to cancel this out because I kind of want to ask you at least 2 more questions.
All right, ask me the 2 questions and I'll answer them.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Because I'm also a comic book aficionado. You are so good that when I even mentioned the beginning, I was like, I got the Batman. And you were like, oh, it was the greatest Batman stories ever told. Was it volume 1? Yes, I have many, many comic books. Some of them are rare and valuable. I'm
going to steal your book, by the way, because God damn it, I can't find a first edition print.
You know what, Zero? I actually have 2 copies of that. If we talk later, I might.
Okay, please send me one because I missed that book.
We'll talk about that later when we're not doing this. But I appreciate it. Comic book.
Let's get on to the questions, buddy.
Left. I bought 10 of them, all sealed up, and I still have 5 left. But anyway, when I see something good or get a good deal, and I think it might be something that will be valuable later on, I'll buy a few of them to not only have myself, but I'll have one I don't open, one I read, and then I'll have some that I give out. So we'll discuss that later. But
all right, so let's get to the 2 questions then, so we can get this train rolling.
Right. So number 1 is this: do you think in your mind, and if yes or no, elaborate, please? Should we be holding comic book characters to some kind of, for lack of a better word, an SJW standard?
Oh, hell no. What we need to understand is that they are not here. I've actually had a conversation about this with a pastor once, and he did not like my answer. And I said, God is never out of the picture. You can never take Jesus out of the picture. The truth of the matter is, superheroes and I named these 3 people, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, are here as representations of what we can be and what we aspire to be for those who do not study the Christian Bible or anything along those lines. They are modern gods in a current world of chaos. They are not meant to replace God or Jesus or your religious beliefs. They are there to continually inspire you by going through the trials and tribulations of everyday life, in whether they be in superhuman environments and adventures or not. But they're meant to be modern day gods in morality plays, such as in the days of Shakespeare with Titania and Oberon. And he was mad as fuck when I said that.
Well, I love Oberon from Bell's Brewery, and on my 15th day, you had to mention my favorite beer, you son of a bitch. But we'll get on to the next question. But so in other words, not only shouldn't they be held to another standard, but this mythos exists, and maybe people, because I've heard it said as a Christian, I've heard it said from other people, oh, you can't have morals unless you have Christianity. Bull dunk. Is this not another way that people can find a mythos of morality?
Yes.
Outside of that.
Because think about it. Think about who created Superman, 2 Jewish kids. Think about who created Batman, the Jewish guy. Siegel and Schuster and Bob Kane were all Jewish.
Yeah, we make
Think about who created Wonder Woman, the guy who invented the lie detector. He was out to help people seek the truth. And yes, William Moulton Marsden wasn't a polyamorous relationship. That's his own personal business. But still, Wonder Woman is the spirit of truth. Those three DC icons alone were meant to inspire us as people. And if you want morality, look at their origins. Look at their storytelling. They are all based off of a Christian and or Catholic beliefs to an extent, with the exception of Wonder Woman, who has her origins in Greek mythology, which still have been known for plays of morality.
Now, look, don't rush yourself, because we got 8 more minutes, and then believe me, Kofefe, believe me, Big Clint, as soon as we go into the next, you and Britisher will be stoked. We'll be able to talk about some things I'm not even going to mention right now.
Cool.
But
I just want to say I heard Jordan Peterson talking about the Demigod comic book thing. It was very interesting to look that up.
Oh, yeah, and if you got something to add into this, as soon as I ask Zero this, we have people that come on the show often, some that come on rarely. So Fan will be on tonight. I think I said it right. Poisoning the Well, my favorite one of the two. I know we're not supposed to have favorites when there's a group of people, but he is my favorite. He reminds me of me with no filter, if you can believe that. Anyway, so this is the question, Zero, and I would really like you, if you can, to take your time and elaborate as much as possible. What have you learned as a grown man? Because I hear, oh, it's for kids, it's this and that. What have you learned as a grown man from the comic book mythos that has helped you in your adult life?
Well, I never learned to read normally, like textbooks or novels. My brain doesn't function that way, and I did later on because Vampire Hunter D is one of my favorite novel series. So I learned to read by starting out with little small trade paperbacks of Spider-Man and Batman and Swamp Thing, and read all my uncle's comic books as much as I could. And I realized that the people that were writing these things were very intelligent, and then I started really getting into the history of the characters. And when you look at a person, and I'll do this in alphabetical order. When I look at a person, when I look at Batman, because I learned I was adopted, so I realized, being adopted wasn't so bad. Batman lost his parents to crime, and he became Batman because that's just the way the story unfolded. To this day, God willing, when Mama Cool gets home, I'll be even happier. I still have my parents, and they put a lot of time and effort into a spoiled little punk-ass kid to help turn him into a responsible adult. That's what I got from Batman. What I got from Superman was, even with Superman's so goddamn hard to write for because he's super powered to the max, and how do you really challenge him? But because he was from a farm on Kansas farm, and the Kents raised him in. And don't.
Sorry, go ahead. Carry on.
And yeah, but you made a valid point, but that's not where I was going. But you look at the Kents, they're farmers from middle America. They had strict Christian values, and that was the one thing that Papa Kent and Mama Kent always tried to tell Clark, was to value human life as much as possible, unless there was no, and they were realists. They were realists, saying, hey, look, you don't kill people unless there's absolutely no other means necessary, or it's such a dire situation. And if you can't save everybody, you need to learn to realize that. And if it means your life, you sacrifice it for the greater, not for the greater good, but for the benefit of the people, not to become a martyr, but to become an example in both life and death. That's what I got from Superman, to become an example, to lead by example as opposed to words. And everything I got from Wonder Woman, I already stated. Equality, temperament, justice, truth, and fairness. And that one was the hardest one to learn, was to be fair. I can be so critical about things on myself as well as others. And that's not what the spirit of truth is. That's not what the character of Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, just as these three, would want for us to learn from their characters as examples. And you can say that, and you can say the same thing about any character on a certain level in any comic book. But this is what I grew up with. So and then later on, I did read the X-Men, and what I learned from that was not to be a racial prick, and how to work as a team. Yeah, and that even though I was more the badass like Wolverine, in the long run, I grew up to be a leader like Cyclops, because I'm a dad. I have to lead by example, but it all plays about. And then ultimately, Voltaire's and ultimately I have to throw this in because everybody knows the saying, with great power comes great responsibility. That's by Voltaire. Stanley took it from him. But what that means is that when you wield power on any certain level, you have to be the one that accepts the responsibility of how you use it, not what it can do and the responsibility for that, because that's the secondary part so much as more of the first part. And that's pretty much the answer to your question.
Yeah, no, perfect. You did it with 3 minutes to spare, so I'm going to ask you one more follow-up.
All right.
Would you recommend to, let's say, an adult like myself, maybe 40 years old, somewhere in middle age, never picked up a comic book in their life? Do you think it's a waste of time? Is it something that you would recommend to someone that maybe never read DC or Marvel or any other comic book series, that they would pick up an old comic and maybe read through the series?
If your mentality is that of, if you have any shred of doubt in your mind that's a waste of time, then no, don't waste my time by letting me recommend anything. However, if you are truly open-minded and want a good story with good visuals, you have from 1939, in my opinion, all the way till 2012 worth of comic books, 75 years plus history. You can pick up anything from any genre, any era. It doesn't have to be Marvel, DC, anything that piques your interest in the comic book form, and have fun with it. I would mostly say that if people really wanted to start with Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, start with the reboot series around 1986, 1987, after an event called Crisis on Infinite Earths, to get a good fresh start all the way up till, and I would say the New 52 is pretty decent on certain levels, up until the New 52, and then go back to the Bronze Age, the Silver Age, and the Golden Age. And then when you're ready for it, or if you can handle it right off the bat, read the Crisis on Infinite Earths trade paperback, because that's some powerful shit.
Yeah, I got it. I was going to go grab that and show it to you too, but
no, I got that in my house.
Very, very good. So you almost answered the last one, but I'm going to ask you just specifically, make you put a little finer point as we wrap up this last minute. If someone was to only read one series of comic books, one character, which one would you recommend, Zero?
Whatever they're attracted to. My nephew loves The Flash and all his.
Give me yours. What you?
Mine? I don't have one. I read so many. I've been a Marvel fan, a DC fan, an Image fan, a Milestone fan, which was started by the great Dwayne McDuffie. Rest in peace, sir. I can't tell you what to start with, what to have. You just can't have one. That's the point of variety. If you are a little girl in before you're 12, start with Wonder Woman. Start with whatever Wonder Woman you want. Start with the Teen Titans, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, what about Powerpuff Girls? I mean, you can start with somebody.
Nothing wrong with that.
How about The Watchmen? I just was watching the live action comic today.
That is for adults.
Oh, okay. I won't. You're right. You did say for little girls, little kids, but the Watchmen is Rorschach is my second favorite comic book anti-hero, shall we call him?
Because there's no such thing as any hero, but sure.
But even though he's out for truth and everything, and wants the truth to come out, and
he's a vigilante.
Even though he ends up getting killed for truth, in the end, man, I mean, he's like a Bruce Wayne, like a Batman to me. Whereas he's in the bar and he's like, who killed the comedian? I got this man's pinky. Boom! Snaps his pinky off. If that's not an anti-hero, I don't know what is.
Well, and I could get into the semantics of what anti-hero means.
I don't.
But I'm not going to. But he's more of a vigilante, and he dies a hero because he knows that.
Come on, Zero. I wanted you to rant earlier. Now your rant's up. This was my way of segueing.
So.
And look, I found something out about you, Zero Cool.
Uh-oh.
You're one of the rantingest motherfuckers that I've ever known. But you've got to have the mood like.
I go on tangents, buddy. There's not always
right. To get me to like, that's what I'm saying. For me to like get you to do one, it doesn't happen. It's like an organic, natural thing that happens when you least expect it. And boy, I think you're second, maybe only to Cabbage Patch Bastard, but he is about 50 years older than you.
Oh, he's a cranky ass bastard, and I've called him on it.
Yeah, and look, if we could, that would be a whole other topic. You said you just had him on your live stream. I'm so glad that you had him on. He will do, if nothing else, he'll bring the real. So, Britisher, do you see what this is, mate?
I see what that is.
It's a Marlboro. I had a migraine headache that lasted for a little bit over 32 hours. which means that for 32 hours, I was lying in my bed with all the shades drawn, the AC down to where the room was about 60 degrees. And I was vomiting every time I would move. If I would move a little bit, my head would hurt so bad that I would vomit. And now I feel kind of good. So I'm going to have a cigarette and destroy my health. But the main reason I'm doing that is this, mate. Britisher, I don't want to back Pat, but did you, I think you did watch the one I did about the London Bridge thing. Yes. And if you noticed anything different about how I reacted compared to when that animal went in and stabbed one of your bobbies in Parliament.
A little bit.
Compared to when, or the Manchester. And if I did react any differently, mate, it was because of you. And I'm going to stick with my idea of making this a little more structured by asking you a question, Britisher.
Go ahead.
Let me light this cigarette. You know, because it's important to me. And even though I know that nicotine is a stimulant, for some strange reason, it calms an ogre down. Maybe it's because I know when I'm smoking, I'm going to die sooner. So you want to relax and enjoy life if you know you're going to die. Why? Okay, I'm trying to, because I've actually got it written down, but I'm not going to read it written. How do you remain calm? And why is it better to be British?
Funnily enough, someone on the comment section on the video I made about the London attack sort of, you know, had a bit of a go at me for saying, oh, well, you know, how can one possibly remain calm? And I sort of, you know, from his response, it's sort of, what I sort of said to him is, we seem to have two separate outlooks on this. Your view of this is that one gets overcome by anger. My view is that one lets oneself become angry. And that therefore one has still always got, one has to relinquish the control to become angry. That's the way I tend to see it. So if you are calm, if you are not prone to emotion, you tend to be much more able to react in some sort of, you know, reasonable manner. Whereas if you let your emotions carry you away, then who knows how you're going to react.
So there's more power in having self-control. I mean, I don't want to lead you, but I want you to expand on this if you can, sir.
Yes, of course, there is more power in having self-control, because you still give yourself the option to react in a meaningful way, as opposed to just being consumed by an emotion, whatever that emotion may happen to be. Because if the moment you become angry, the moment you become enraged, you are no longer in control of yourself. It is your emotions that have basically taken over. The red mist has descended. And therefore, who knows what you will do? You don't really know what you will do. Whatever your emotions decide is to their immediate satisfaction. So you are, to use the thing you like to say, at that particular moment you are all id. Your conscious side has effectively departed. And that's why I just feel it is sort of paramount to kind of hang on to your conscious side and not let your id take over, so to speak.
Well, you left the door open for this, sir. So I would say this. When I think of yourself and myself, we're pretty good mates. I'm not going to share any personal information about either one of us, but you know a lot about me. I know a little bit about you because you don't share a lot. I would say that a person like me represents the id of humanity, and that a person like yourself represents the super ego. Is there much difference between the super ego and the id?
You'll have to tell me what the super ego is.
Okay, well, so when you're born all id. You want to take a dump, you take it in your nappy. You want a breast, you grab it, you know, and then you start to develop your super ego, which is like, not only do you not want to go in your nappy, you don't want anybody in the house when you do your business in the water closet. And your okay, the super ego is the one that it involves not only keeping a stiff upper lip, but not letting anyone know what you're thinking or what you're feeling. And
so
to
me, your super ego is your anally retentive side.
Thank you. Although, and yes, close enough without going into a psychological 101, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hope you see what I'm trying to draw. You can fall into either ditch. You can fall into either ditch. I find myself falling into the ditch of id very often. Sometimes, Brett, as much as I love and respect you, mate, I almost feel, but I've been working on taking your example, and I find a lot of relief and release in the stiff upper lip. But is it almost falling in the other ditch? And if not, because I hope you know where I'm trying to lead you. If not, what does it do for us?
Well, it kind of, when Zero before was talking about superheroes and whatever, setting kind of examples, I would sort of say, well, look at sort of history and look at, whoever it was, forgive me if I don't know off by heart, who commanded the Alamo or things like that. It requires people who remain calm, who can kind of shoulder the responsibility without being, overtaken by the power of the situation. And effectively, that is what inspires the others to follow suit.
All right, I keep myself muted so that my little clicking and clacking don't go on. So if I don't get right at it, this is what I'm asking you. How, okay, because I thought I'd lead you, but that was so ambiguous. How could you know where I was going? You can't read my mind, right? So how is it that someone that I was in your chats, the little thing on this last one, if you didn't notice, and I just mentioned because somebody was like, you were, you were.
Well, I'm an MI6, and once again, I'm a Secret Service agent. Yes, I've been found out once again. Yes.
The person was actually saying, I've been watching you for a while, and I have come to believe that you work for the New World Order, and I don't know. I was reading it, I was laughing so hard that before I realized, I was like, oh, he already responded to this insanity. So this is the question. How is it that a person that wants to remain on the super ego side of the road, near falling in the ditch, got a wheel in the ditch, can still look at it? How do we look at it with a dry eye and come up with solutions? That's the question, if you can answer it.
Well, I think what it requires is a certain level of detachment. That basically you have to be able to kind of hold it at arm's length so that you can actually try your best to view it from the outside and not be, in your mind's eye, one of the protagonists. Because in that case, you are more than likely going to either be very biased or you are going to be emotionally involved, if you know what I mean.
And that's what makes you weary. And that is probably what makes you weary. By removing yourself from the situation to an extent where you're only an observer looking in, not making yourself either side of it.
Well, I mean, nobody can completely detach themselves. So, I mean, obviously you feel emotions when you see things like that. But it's a matter of not really abandoning yourself to emotions. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I just said I have one kind of Americanized take on it. The more I have sat and twirled my beard about this, and the only thing I can come up with, and it's different for us over here than it is for you over there, is pack heat against these sons of bitches, man. I need to pack heat. I need to carry. I got a license to carry. I need to start carrying everywhere. I said thank you to the guy in Meyer, because he was strapped in Meyer right on his hip. And I was like, thank you, sir. I just appreciate the fact you're carrying. It makes me feel safer,
Yeah, but they are. And look, I'm going to do a little defense to the English because Mrs. Ogre and I were talking last night, Kofefe and everybody here. And here's the deal. If we live in a society where posse comitatus means that the officer has a gun, pepper spray, a baton, and a taser, all deadly. All of those are deadly. Even your taser, just look into it. It will kill you. And not only that, he's got a shotgun in the car. When he gets there, so now someone has called the cops because there's a dust up at a bar. Nobody has a gun. 7 officers rush in, all of them packing heat. Okay, that's the American way, right? But the British way, 10% of police officers on the beat have a gun, Kofefe. The other 90% have a billy club. And I'll be dagging up. There's a chicken in my house right here. I'm not even kidding. Just snuck in my house. But the Bobby there, Britisher, took his truncheon. There were people throwing bottles and chairs. So all I will say is I agree with you, mate, because I'm an American too. I agree with the whole pack and heat deal. Don't get me wrong. I'm not even going to cut it down. But you have to look at it in perspective. What we need in the world is for Theresa May, excuse me, now I'm going to be the Britisher. What we need in the world is for Theresa May not to be a jerk. Don't tell people to run and hide and tell. Tell them to stay out of trouble whenever you can. But if you see your countryman being stabbed in the street, it's time. It's time to grab a bottle, to grab a knife, to grab a chair, and to attack, as Winston Churchill would advise. That's it. And look, I'm not taking away from that either. I got to say it one more time. I do appreciate, because I live up here. When you said Meyer, it sparked, because the Meyer I go to, shit, man, 1 out of 20 people has got a sidearm on them. But I'm way up here up north. Everybody packs heat around here. We ain't going to see there ain't going to be no Taliban up here for a while.
Well,
if
yes,
there was, they would be shot down like dogs.
You are also not 8 minutes away from an armed response unit.
Yeah, I was going to jump in and say let's be fair here. Over here in America is not the same over there as the UK with our friends and family and whatnot. So we can be over here saying whatever we want in America because things are different, but the situation comes down to is when you are like the British says 8 minutes away from an armed response unit. Anything can happen even in 30 seconds. It's a very unfair advantage to citizens of the UK if they're being told one thing, believing in another, and then they kind of run around, no disrespect for Isher, but they're running around with chickens like their heads cut off. They're not knowing what to do because of what's going on. And then there is that fight or flight response. Let's be realistic about this, people.
Yeah, what I was getting at with the gun thing was more just self-defense, and I know it's not a solution for Britain, and I don't suggest, that they. I just know I'm looking at it from like I do personally to protect myself from going and getting nail bombed.
Well, somebody did ask me again in that comment section about what would have happened if the population would have been armed, and what I sort of responded is there are pros and cons. So yes, there would have been people with guns, but at the same time, it is more than likely also fair to assume that the terrorists therefore would have been quite heavily armed also.
Well,
also you have to consider that what Zero just said, when the whole thing just struck, there was complete confusion for about an hour. Nobody knew what was going on. Some people were actually, when the attack was still going on, fleeing into the threat rather than away from it. So if you now add the fact that it was a Saturday night, people were going out drinking, and now you throw in all this confusion and you throw in some guns,
and you can't take a gun to the bar, or you're not supposed to be carrying concealed while you're drinking in this country.
But I just mean the potential for damage, for harm would have been considerable. You also have to consider that there is actually one guy of whom one knows who ended up with a bystander who ended up with a bullet in his skull.
Yes, and he was American too. There was one of the in the 50 shots fired by the British police, an American got struck by a stray bullet in the head. He'd lived, or is still living, but yes.
Well, that said, yes, accidents can happen, but I'm going to say this right now before we go off on any tangents. That bullet was shot by the Taliban, whoever you want to call them, ISIS, because even though that was a British officer doing his duty, the bullet would never have left the barrel of that gun.
True enough. Yes, yeah.
It's not exactly fair when half their police force has been declawed intentionally. So the response times and the reactions are vastly different no matter how the scenario plays out, because of that one initial thing is, yeah, you 90% over here are carrying batons, you 10% over here only get guns. That's just not right.
It doesn't make sense to me. And maybe because I get up and just eat pounds of bacon and just lock and load every day.
Well, put it like this.
I don't know.
When it
It's how
comes to
we think with our hip, I guess.
when it comes to the British police, I think everyone would prefer to keep it this way. But that was, of course, basically with a conventional criminal situation. No one designed it with the idea of terrorism in mind. So everyone really thought that when it came to tackling crime, the British police, as it was, actually worked quite well.
And it did on a certain level.
But now that we have this kind of completely new threat being introduced, now one may have to start rethinking things. And I think that this is one of the big questions that is being asked now in these various reviews. Should one not have either all the police armed, at least in the big population centers, or perhaps a much bigger proportion of them?
Oh, but how do you listen? We talk about this a lot, Britisher, and I've said it before ambiguously. I'll say it very directly now. It's nice when the Bobby is there with a truncheon, because he's just one of y'all. Now,
yes,
he may take that out and clobber somebody and make
yes, it's very much
shot, but
it's very much a part.
Change. That is a beautiful thing about your culture.
It's very much a part of what they call community policing. That basically he is a civilian gentleman, effectively in a uniform.
Yes, there's power in that.
People feel much more comfortable with that. And I would say a large part of the police feels much more comfortable with that.
Well, and it's hard for me to even ask a police officer for directions here. I was just in New York City not terribly long ago, and you go up, you try to go to a New York City cop. He's got all this. He looks like Batman with his utility belt. It's like you just want to know where, how to get to Central Park from here. And it's harsh for Batman. I know.
No, this is actually quite true. This is one of the phenomena that a lot of the police in London and whatever speak of. That when tourists are confronted with British bobbies, they are quite taken aback at how approachable they are compared to police in most other countries, because it is kind of a different. It is an entirely different setup.
That's a very good point that you make. That's one thing that America has lost. We used to have neighborhood patrols, or people that were basically flatfoots, as we would call them back in the day, that were well known by whatever X amount of blocks they would patrol on foot, and they were the first responders. That's the one thing America has lost in regards to Britain, and that's something I'm sorry to say that we should have never lost.
Yeah, but as I say, if we now have a much greater proportion of police in London with automatic sort of weapons on them, it is going to put up quite a different. If you approach Downing Street, it's a completely different scenario as if you just meet a bobby in the street, because then they are all tooled up quite heavily.
Yeah, and I'd say that I personally am not for the militarization of police, but I do kind of feel like they need to have a sidearm. It makes me very uncomfortable seeing them with, SWAT. These SWAT teams are looking more and more like the military and things, and then we got to watch.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think we got to watch that big time, because we don't want military on the street. Like, our cultures in the U.S. is kind of like, well, we need cops and we're going to be armed. I don't even know if you could tell cops they couldn't carry, because then they could just follow state law and carry anyway. I don't even know how that, I guess, shakes down. I mean, it's just such I guess.
Here's the problem that I have with that. Then they need to lay off of me or anybody else that's in Meyer with their sidearm. But what they do is they give you the rigmarole, pull you over, start running your name. No. Papers, please? No. And so, okay, here's the thing. And I'm only going to go panel for probably another 40 minutes, because SoFan will be on tonight from Poisoning the Well at 7 o'clock. I know the Britisher. I didn't see that if you had the week that was up yet, Brett.
No, I haven't got it up yet.
I'm just happy that you swung by. I did not think you'd make it in today. You always amaze me by your work ethic, sir. Second to none. I don't know anybody quite like you in that respect. But here it is, Brett. The last two that you've done on Manchester and now on London, it made me realize this. There needs to be religious discrimination. If that religion says, I will kill you if you don't convert, if they're sitting there saying that we want to turn Buckingham Palace into a mosque, if Khan, the mayor of London, excuse me, I have to burp every time I think of his name. If he's going to say we got to get used to this, no, we don't need to get used to anything. And I think it's high time that we said, yeah, freedom of religion, if that religion does not hurt or remove the rights of someone else.
Well, I would go as far as saying that it's how to put it. You know, I mean, you know, I have a somewhat different attitude towards different religions. With me, it is a matter of if there is a threat that emanates from within a religion. I understand that, you know, the overwhelming majority of Muslim people aren't party to this, but it doesn't matter how small a proportion are party to it. Given that a fact are party to it, we need to somehow categorize this entire religion as something else, because there is no way we can otherwise sort of lead to any sort of action. We seem to be kind of, you know, unable to act due to the fact that we are bound by this principle of we must treat all the religions the same. Religious freedom is a kind of founding principle of most modern nations. I understand that concept, but it was never done with religiously inspired terrorism in mind.
Well, because it's not just a religion, it's a religio-political movement.
Bingo.
That's the problem.
Bingo, you're right on, Ogre. That's exactly the point I was going to make. When you demand that your religion merge with the state, that's where you get major problems.
And that's what they're asking for. They're asking for a theocracy. They all say they want to live under a theocracy. The towel wrappers over there, and why can't I think of it right now? You know, where all the oil comes from, the sheiks and whatnot. That all those people over there, they have a theocracy. Women can't drive a car.
Have you actually
chop
heard
your hand off. If you do whatever, they cut your head off right in public. These people are not the West. They're not the West, and we shouldn't mingle their religio-political movement with our politics at all.
Have you actually heard there is a very interesting piece of news out today, and that is regarding Qatar or Qatar, whichever way you wish to
they got cut off from Saudi Arabia, basically, which is kind of a bombshell and stepping on a landmine at the same time, don't you think, Britisher?
Yeah, it's quite spectacular. It's not just Saudi Arabia, it's quite a few Gulf states that have kind of turned on Qatar. And it's going to be interesting to see how that resolves itself. It more than likely has something to do with Trump's visit. I don't know whether they've decided to kind of make Qatar the sacrificial lamb. It's doubly interesting, of course, because it puts the United States of America, and this may well be deliberate, it puts the United States of America in an extremely difficult position. Because if you have the Arabs saying that this particular country is up to its neck in terrorism, and the United States of America have their largest naval base in the region in that particular country, then how did the US resolve that? Can you see the problem?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They would basically try to force the fact that get your naval base out of there. That's what they want.
Well, I'm not sure they want that. No, I don't think that countries like Saudi Arabia or whatever would at all want the US to have their naval base gone. They're quite happy for it to be there because of Iran.
No, they're probably trying to push so we keep it there. I mean, I see.
Okay, well, I can admit I'm wrong on that one. That was just where my brain went. But, you know, hey, I
dig it, Zero. I understand. But remember Kuwait. I mean, who was attacking Kuwait? And why did we go and help them? It was Saddam Hussein shooting Scuds at Kuwait. And we went and helped Kuwait because they got a shitload of fucking oil. And I say let all the goat herders go herd goats or wrangle oil out of the ground or whatever they're doing now and sell it on the free market. But as far as all this, oh man, military for oil shit, man, I'm sick to hear beyond Islam with that.
Well,
because we are not the world police. We're not. If anybody's the world police, it should be Great Britain. They used to run 1/3 of the earth, and I don't think the United States has ever done that.
We got rid of piracy and slavery. We didn't do bad, did we? No. When it comes to the whole sort of Middle East thing, you know, there are very many sort of different interesting angles. I mean, if Qatar has now fallen out of favor, that is also going to play into the Syrian conflict, because of course, quite a bit of the Syrian conflict is about those pipelines that one wishes to lay through Syria.
The Caspian.
Qatar would have been the main beneficiary of that.
Is that the Caspian Sea pipeline, or am I mixing two things up? That's the big.
No,
pipeline.
I think you're mixing something up there. There were two suggested pipelines through Syria. One from Iran, bringing their natural gas through, and one from Qatar through Saudi Arabia, then I think Jordan, then Syria, into Turkey, and off to Europe. And of course, Iran is allied with Russia, but Russia doesn't want that either. And of course, Qatar has hitherto been allied with the US. So you've had these two major global powers, in a way, struggling over who gets to lay a natural gas pipeline through Syria. That has always been part of the game. But when it comes to the rivalry between the Saudis and the Iranians, you also have to keep in mind that the Saudis have lots of money because they have oil, but they have very little else. And meanwhile, the Iranians have oil, but they have the universities. They have lots of people. They have industry. You know, they are the ones who are trying to build, you know, nuclear power plants with all the problems this encounters now with the West not wanting to get this technology. But it kind of shows that the Iranians are derived from the old Persian Empire. They are a very, very old civilization. Whereas the Saudis, without being too unkind, you know, 100 years ago, they were, you know, camel herders. So they have got a huge amount of wealth through oil, but they know too well that once that wealth is used up, or once technology has moved on and doesn't really require that much petroleum anymore, then they are really in quite a bad place. Whereas Iran is going to go on, because Iran has always been.
Very good point.
Yeah, and I got one quick question for you, Britt, before we get off on any more tangents. From Doppelganger. Doppelganger's taking a little break. Thank God. No, I'm just teasing you. Welcome back anytime, Doppelganger. But he asked this question to the panel, I think most specifically to you, Britt. Would it be enough if we completely remove the accusations of racism from being vigilant about Islamists and from reporting on suspicious activities? You dig that? I don't think I have to elaborate on it.
Well, I mean,
remember the guy with the van, Britisher? The guy, he was questioned. Okay, go ahead.
Well, what we need to, it isn't so much what we need to do, it is what the Islamic community needs to do. They need to come to their, you know, they need to come to the conclusion that they can't accuse us of racism or Islamophobia for wanting to probe into them when these things are going on. This constant chorus of this has nothing to do with us, which then plays into the narrative of, so you can't investigate our communities, you can't spy upon us, you can't do any of these things because this has nothing to do with us. These people have nothing to do with Islam. That is getting rather tiresome. And they need to understand themselves that if this is coming forth from their communities, then they, in a way, have to embrace this. I think, what's he called? Our old favorite, Lionel. the guy who does Lionel Nation on
Lionel
YouTube.
Nation, yeah.
He did an interesting piece where he
he ain't had no stiff upper lip. Continuing, he's been pissed over this stuff. I've never seen him get so riled. Continue.
Where he compared it to kind of the mafia in New York, and he sort of said, well, you need to, in a way, create an incentive whereby the community itself wishes to rat these people out. And, he got, yes, as you would say, he got quite hardcore on that.
Good God, man. What more incentive do you need to be than to be British? You mean, listen, I don't even know if I could become a citizen, but I mean, if I was right now, if it was told to me, I could have at least the life I have now, which is, regardless of what people want to think, very comfortable and I live in the lap of luxury. God knows why, but I do. If I could know I could live this life and be in some countryside there. I mean, you sent me some pictures, Brett, and oh my goodness, I can't say the town, but when I seen where that thing was that you sent me, where they found that stuff, that I don't want to get any deeper than that. And it showed, I was looking beyond where they were doing that, the excavating. And I was looking out there and man, it's so, let me make it short because that was already long. If I could move to England right now, sir, and like be called a Britisher, wouldn't that be enough incentive for me to say, I think my neighbor is going to run people over on the London Bridge? Shouldn't that be enough incentive?
Of course you would want to be in Britain, and you would want to be British, because God is English, as everybody knows.
He surely is English, God is, yes.
I stole that from To the Man of Bone, by the way.
From A Knight's Tale, the Pope may be French, but Jesus was English.
Jesus, God is English. Yes, you're right. Knight's Tale is the Pope, but yes. But and then all jokes aside, isn't that enough, Britisher? That these folks, we're talking about second generation, and the man, if I remember right, because I've seen so many people speaking, wasn't the guy that had the van that the Islamist terrorists were talking about how to get the van? Wasn't he wasn't he about the color of this chicken that just came in my house? Look, you think I'm joking? Freaking chicken just came in my house.
Oh, him and his chickens.
Y'all think I'm kidding?
I think we've just found out that the Ogre would make a good heavyweight boxing champion of the world.
Oh my goodness!
If you remember Rocky Balboa,
you just got to start drinking those raw eggs.
Gotta catch that chicken, boy! Got to catch that chicken.
Rocky needed to train and train until he managed to catch that chicken. Whereas Ogre just got it at the first attempt. So Apollo Creed would have nothing on the Ogre, it would appear.
Well, this the bird's name is Nigger. I call him Nidgley, her, but the bird's name is Nigger because she's so black. And hate me for it if you want. It's just a funny joke.
Did you watch that clip I sent you yesterday, Ogre, about the chickens?
Oh yeah, feeding the chickens with no grain. Believe it. Not only did I watch it, but I looked at that. And I don't want to get off topic. I'll talk to you. Let's do that in the last like 20 minutes.
No problem.
Yes, I watched that, and
because it was just so bizarre.
Second to none. But we've got to do something, Britisher. And here it is. We have to let these people know, with no uncertain terms, you're British now. You can be Muslim by religion, but your heart belongs to Britannia.
But this is one of the basic problems we have with all terrorism, whether it be in San Bernardino, whether it be in London, whether it be in Paris, Berlin. These people effectively have won the lottery of life. They get to live not in South Sudan or Ethiopia, but they get to live in the kind of most affluent, best developed nations on earth. But they cannot see the benefit of that. They do not see it as a blessing.
No, they
suffer from a poverty mentality.
Yes. I'm sorry. Say that again. Nobody heard you. I was talking.
So they suffer from the basic ingrained poverty mentality.
Yeah, and he said it.
Well, not all of them are necessarily poor. This is just it.
No, it's not about.
You cannot be poor in England. You can't be poor in England.
Well, yeah, I know, but that's the point. They're given all this life of luxury by their original standards from the countries they're from, and yet they still think they need more or have to have more or something that they don't deserve and or need because they consistently think they're being denied something. So they think they're poor, and even though it's a complete reversal of fortune, which people buy lottery tickets en masse in America just to get out of that particular train of thought. Does that make sense?
We lost some of that, Zero.
Okay, it's very much like this. They come from the Sudan and they go to the UK, right? Well, compare the UK to Sudan. That's like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
And yet they still think that even though that they're in the country they're in now, which would be the UK, they still have the mentality of as if they're being stuck in the Sudan. No matter what's presented in front of them, they think they have to have more whether they need it or not.
In a way, it's the ultimate victim complex. That's what you're saying.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I was thinking, but the poverty mentality, yeah. To be the victim, yeah.
Yeah, so
well,
we just
thing, but it's like you just said,
various social justice personnel don't pick up on that.
But here's the problem, Brett.
Social justice words can fucking bite me.
Look, when someone listen, Britisher, it's so funny. I'm tying this in because you said it's like they hit the lottery. Do you know that here in the United States that something upwards of 90% of people that hit the lottery to the tune of $100 million end up being worse off than they were before they hit it in about 5 years?
How do they manage that?
Well, look into it. I don't know, because if somebody gave me $100 million,
because they don't know how to manage money.
Well, yes, with most of them,
don't know how to manage freedom.
But with most of them, they don't receive $100 million in one chunk. It actually is payments spread out over years.
No, these morons, the ones, because look, you can make a choice, Britt. You can say, you can say, I won $500 million in this tri-state lottery. So I will take $100 million cash right now. That's what a lot of these
okay, I'm with you.
Well, they would literally take half of that in taxes immediately, which would leave you, say, $250,000 or $250 million. Now, the problem is people go out and blow that money instead of sticking it to where, instead of either having an accountant say, okay, this is where we're going to do with it, so you can either avoid paying taxes or you can afford to pay your taxes on your next year tax return, and then they burn it all into the ground, and that's why they're fucked up.
They go buy a mansion, they buy 5 Ferraris. Yep. There's a guy that lives close to me right now
they buy shit they don't need.
He won $80 million take home. This was about 7 years ago. He now rides a scooter, and he got busted because while he still had a bunch of money, he was getting a dole. He was on the dole.
Well,
and then he had to pay the fines for that. And so
I just know of a case in around where I live, and there was a guy who won the lottery, and lo and behold, your theory holds true because he ended up with nothing.
And it goes back to what we're talking about. This is no tangent. What it is look, if you, in our country, we have the black population. I will not say African-American. I only know a couple African-Americans, and both of those are white. I know 2 white people that are born in Africa, and now they're here, and they're African-Americans. The black folk I know here, they ain't African-Americans, man. It's disgusting. They shouldn't even, in fact, most of the ones I know wouldn't even, let me get on point. If you tell someone you're downtrodden, you're blah, 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 that's powerful. If it comes from your peers, it's powerful. If it comes from your authority figures, i.e. imams, telling people, look, you are God's servant. All of these people hate you and want to kill you. These people out having a drink on a weekend night in London, that's what it comes to. We need to get away. And if we can't get away from this happening, then we need to have something. And I am the most anti-establishment, anti-law human being that any of y'all have ever seen. I'm an anarcho-capitalist. I believe in fuck you. Let me take care of myself. But if there is a power, if there is a force out there, if there's an entity, if there's a religio-political movement that wants my wife to put on a fucking burqa, it's time for the government to step in and say, nah, you know what? Not only do we have a problem with this, Britisher, but we would like you to vote on whether or not we should even let mosques be here. Or if you don't want to go that extreme, like you, I heard with my own ears say, sir, that maybe we should at least regulate the amount of mosques out there so that we can keep an eye on them, keep a weather eye on them. Let me calm down. Keep a weather eye, right? Should that be the case?
Well, I think, when you're sort of grasping to try and find solutions, I think, that might be one of them. I still don't know whether that would work. But yes, I think sort of chances are, if you have, I mean, there's a very large Muslim constituent here by now. I don't think it would be feasible really to just basically close down all the mosques. But if you basically just said, okay, look, this is how many you can keep, because this is how many the authorities think they can keep an eye on. And clearly you seem to have demonstrated that we need to keep an eye on them. So I think that might be a way of progressing. Plus, if you remember, I also said that perhaps they should also then insist that all the preaching, all the teaching is done in English.
In English, I love that. I was hoping you'd get to that. And very quickly, doppelganger. I've got a bunch of people asking questions and all this stuff, man. If you want to ask your questions and follow-ups, get your fucking ass in here, or just know that I'm going to ignore you for the rest of the time. So, British, yes, they should speak in English. And you know what I love about that? I loved it when you said that, mate. Because they say you can't understand the Quran. I'm sorry, I didn't say it right. The Quran, unless you understand it in Muslim. And bullshit. It's a code. It's like that speech we were talking about where they say that Barney because it means you're in rubble, you're in trouble. What do you call that? Where the Cockney, what was that? The English people that actually have like a way of talking that you can't understand?
Oh, Cockney rhyming slang.
Yeah, Cockney rhyming slang. And what they're trying to do is a Cockney rhyming slang right now. They're trying to do that with this. Oh, you can only understand the Quran.
If you remember, there's a perfect demonstration of that, whereby there was actually a channel on YouTube which did nothing else but translate some of the sermons that some other preachers were holding on their YouTube clips. And lo and behold, they got closed down for hate speech. So even though they were translating into English so that people could understand what these people were actually saying, they got closed down, whereas the original Arabic versions still stayed up there.
Oh, so they did. That makes me feel really good. So in Great Britain, they did close a mosque down for hate speech?
No. As I say, this happened on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So you know how you've got these kind of sermons in Arabic and whatever by preachers on YouTube?
Oh, yeah, I watch them all too much.
Somebody set up a channel and just basically did nothing else but translate what these sermons, what these preachers were actually saying. And they got closed down for hate speech by YouTube.
And we got 6 more minutes on this before I just abruptly whatever. I go into the last little half hour.
As for your question before, yes, several mosques have been closed down over time here in Britain.
Well, I didn't know that. They don't broadcast that stuff here. And I want closing words from everybody, including you, Kafefe, everybody, on this, because here at the middle of the hour, look, I've got an idea, and I'm going to go with it, and it's going to start with the Britisher and Zero Cool and all of y'all, because I'll be honest with you, I have spent, except for the time that I was, nothing really gets me down. Britisher, you have been around me when I was so sick. I shouldn't have been doing what I'm doing now, but I did it anyway. Man, when I get a migraine headache, it's the only thing on earth that takes the ogre out. I already said what I do, and that's the only thing I can do, because if I try to move, I vomit, and it's so terrible. But even while I was doing that, man, I watched Fox, CNN, I watched all of this, and to me, it seems like they tried to get a little more hard line on this deal. This is my way of wrapping my end up. And if it goes a little bit over the half of the hour, it's fine for everyone, because I want everyone to have the last words. They seem to be a little more hard line, but oh my gracious. So if I'm a little more hard line and a guy just raped, 3 young girls and threw them in a trash can and tried to catch that on fire, but it burnt down an apartment complex and killed everybody in an apartment complex. So now I go to him and I say, you've been a really bad guy, and slap him in the face instead of just saying, you've been a really bad guy. Is that a correct response? And in my heart, what's happening right now is only leading to more oh, if you want to live in a metropolitan city, you have to get used to it. And I say the times, they are a-changing.
Well, if I can introduce a little bit of levity in this, because I tweeted this out before, because earlier this evening it was, the names of 2 of the terrorists were revealed, and I just couldn't help myself, because the name of the police commissioner here in Britain, I kid you not, because she was on several times making statements, and I think the BBC reporters at times had trouble keeping a straight face, because her name is Cressida Dick. And now it's turned out that one of the terrorists,
if you want to.
Now it turns out that one of the terrorists was called Kurram Butt. So it is increasingly sounding like some kind of Carry-On comedy where everything is just innuendo and silliness.
And we're just going to get dick and fart jokes now, aren't we?
Dick and butt. He said it's dick and butt.
I know, but what does the butt do? It farts.
Well, yeah, but what do you do with a dick? You put it in the butt.
Marvelous.
So you just wonder what the name of the 3rd terrorist is going to be. The name that they so far have withheld.
It's going to be Hussein Clitoris. Hussein Clitoris will probably. That makes me think of Monty Python. Incontinence buttocks.
That just gives you that just gives to the expression that Nash Bozard is using to introduce his "What the fuck is wrong with you" show. Like, hey kids, I'm Nash and I couldn't make shit up if I tried. Like,
hey, that sounds like Jeremy. What was I just hearing?
Where you at, man? I can't see you.
I don't even see you, Jeremy. I was hoping you would come in. What's up?
I can see him. You can't.
No, and I could hardly hear him. You were roboting so bad. Jeremy, I believe, is moving to Paris. He's been so busy with the anyway, I don't want to go off on a tangent. Say hello, Jeremy, if you're still there.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, just give me a second.
No worries. Take your time, because we're going to go off on a whole nother route. But if we're on that route when you get to where we can hear you, we would be more than happy to hear your, what do you call them? Francs, your 2 francs worth of whatever that you have on this stuff.
Meanwhile, I also have joined, kind of spurred into action by your challenge, Ogre.
Oh Lord, yeah, I can't let you do that though, Jeremy. It's so terrible that I can't understand it. Oh mercy! And I can't even mute you, mate. So you got to drop out. I don't even see you up here. So drop out until you get a better line, Jeremy. So good to have you here. Jeremy's been going through some stuff, and look, we got very little time left on this. So Britisher, I think that what I gleaned from what you just said was we need to continue to poke fun of these morons.
Very much so. Yes, we still have to find the humor in this, no matter what happens. Because the moment we just take things seriously, that's that way madness lies.
Yeah, despair all ye who enter here. To that, yes. It's
talking of which, I sent that link earlier about Wonder Woman that I think Zero Cool no doubt will have enjoyed, which is just SJW Nirvana. But I've got something else here that perhaps might amuse people. And that is Mr. Aykroyd has been saying something.
Oh, Dan Aykroyd?
Yes.
I thought he died.
I think he thought he died. Because
well, he does make good vodka. He makes Crystal Head vodka, and outside of that, I'm not sure that he's done anything good in the last years.
Perhaps people may remember the feminist Ghostbusters that came out.
Oh, yeah.
And Dan Aykroyd has just been on television and has literally just torpedoed Paul Feig.
Oh, it didn't stop him from cashing his paycheck, though. Why am I still on? I bounced out twice to clear this up.
What is that horrific sound? Did anybody hear that?
I don't know.
Ogre, it may be a problem on your side because I can hear them perfectly well.
Nah, Jeremy, I'm not even kidding. You're beyond robot, and I think I heard Ogre. But, man, you can't do this to me. I love you so much. I'm so glad you're on the show, but fuck off until you get that stuff fixed, brother.
Zero seems to be here 3 times at present.
I can't.
Yeah, how does that?
I'm going to drop out. I'll be right back because there must be something wrong with me, and I may be the reason that he's having problems. So let me drop out and reboot, and maybe I was the reason that Jeremy couldn't talk. I'll be right back, folks.
All right.
Okay.
So,
all right.
I'll roll with the point there for just a second, guys. I was thinking high school over
I'm afraid we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
No, we still can't hear you.
I
Yep,
still can't hear him.
can't roboting.
Pass then.
Does it?
Okay, so meanwhile, there is one point
Fine.
I wanted to raise vis-a-vis Mr. Britisher, if you don't mind. Namely, you have mentioned the unbelievable good luck of basically winning the lottery of life in good country, among good people.
Yep.
And well, there is one counterpoint to it in that, unlike us Westerners, the Islamists are very much concerned with not only the material aspects of life, but also about the spiritual parts of aspects of life, and also the afterlife. So a lot of their actions and life choices would be explained by that to some extent, and moreover, they do consider, as far as I can tell, West to be actually rotten and not very good place to live from the perspective of spirituality and religion. So they indeed feel being in bad spot rather than
that
winning the lottery.
That depends entirely on you viewing your spiritual life as being dependent on the spiritual life of others. So basically, it would basically stipulate that in order for you to have a healthy spiritual life, those people around you or in any way in your vicinity need to share your spiritual life and your spiritual outlook, else your spiritual life is somehow encumbered.
Is that's Muslim? What you're saying is that's
well,
how
no. I mean that is what Doppelganger is describing, and you just go, that can't really, surely you can be a perfectly good Muslim, even if you are living among people whom you personally regard as heathens, just as long as you remain true to your principles, then what does it matter?
Yeah, and
I'm
listen,
not quite sure that actually
I could hear.
holds.
Listen, Dop, hang on a second, really quick, everybody. Do me a favor, everybody. Copy the link on top of the window that you can see right now that we're actually in. If you're here, copy that link. Exit out. Everybody, exit out. We will be off air for just a very short period of time, and come right back on, and I believe it might fix the glitch. If it don't, we'll roll on, because I want to hear of Jeremy, if I can hear Jeremy too. And British, I'm sure you heard the question. We can go. And so bye. I'll be right back. Everybody do that for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, we'll see. One way or the other. One way or the other. Because I just see like now a bunch. There's 2 Britishers. So no matter what, now we'll roll on with it, because I'm not going to be here that much longer anyway. So what I understood from the question, and yes, Dop, we all heard you very well. Thanks for coming in, mate. I know you're busy and you want to take a little break. It's just, I know you got so much to say. We need you in here if you want to say it, because I don't keep up with it, and your stuff is important. So they're preaching, or was that just your ideas, Britisher, or is that what they're? Yes, I can hear you now, Jeremy. Or is that your idea, or is that what they're preaching, that you can't make it unless everybody around you believes what you believe?
Well, no, that's what I was saying is that was what Mark described. Basically, if he is saying, Mark was saying that we may regard this as the best place in the world, but Muslims live a highly spiritual life, and that therefore they may not regard it in that way, because they are concerned very much with spirituality and with the afterlife. And I sort of said, well, there is nothing stopping them from being concerned with spirituality and the afterlife whilst being here, and yet at the same time still enjoying the benefits of, a wealthy society in that regard, and clean drinking water, So it's difficult to see that as an argument, because the fact that other people do not share their spirituality shouldn't really impact on their ability to live a spiritual life.
Yeah, and don't worry about it, Zero. Just hang in there, man. If there's a bunch of faces, we'll go on. So they think that was his point. Do you feel like that is what they're preaching?
I think when it comes to the sort of when it comes to that end, that kind of lethal end, of Islam, that may well play some sort of point. But yes, that basically means that they would be making their own spirituality dependent on the rest of the world.
Well, to any, any given religion incentivizes their followers in any way, shape, or form to basically gather more followers. Now, how do they do it? And like, basically, just I don't see where the problem would lie here. Like, what's your point exactly, Britisher, about this? Or
well,
what?
I'm not sure it was his point. I think it was a question Dop asked.
Mine was a rebuttal to the point Doppelganger made.
Right. I don't think there was any point he was making. So, Dop, if you want to reiterate that so Jeremy can jump in on this, what are you asking, or do you feel like that's what's being preached, Doppelganger?
This is what I feel that's being preached, and I know it's not a complete theory and not a complete explanation of it all, but I feel there is at least something to it, in that we shouldn't underestimate the Islamists' disappointment in the conditions here in the West. As far as I know, then they consider us corrupt, and for example, when they see any random woman not covered in burqa or hijab, they are offended. So this is their point of view, as far as I gather.
Well, so, go ahead, Jeremy.
Just to paraphrase Stephen Fry on this one, I'm offended by it. Well, so fucking what? First, well, so fucking what? And second of all, Muslims seeing us as being corrupt, as being vile, as being like unworthy. Like, you have the exact same thing within every religion. Anybody who does not belong to the religion is, immoral, and so on and so forth.
But we don't kill people for it, or they don't.
Yeah, we don't kill people for it because we realize it was bad. Again, we're still back at square one. Like, Islam is being forced and is being dragged into the modern world, and they're currently kicking, yelling, and screaming.
Remember down there in Normandy, they took a priest that was like a Catholic dude that was French, and they cut his bleeding throat. Right? And I mean, come on, man. It's coming to a point where we can't compare this religion with other religions. As much as I respect you, Jeremy, we can't do it, because there is a huge difference. The Reformation in Christianity happened 400 years ago with Luther.
Not only just Luther, but it was a slow process. It was a slow process, and the problem is that
I'm sorry, Zwingli, Huss.
Yes, but it also involved a lot of killing.
Yes, I can name the liturgy of people, but it's happened already, is the point.
Yes, but it also involved a lot of killing. It was a very violent process, and it is well possible that right now this is the violent process in which the Muslim world is engaged.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, maybe, but they're not. They're going to get slapped for it too, and they should remember that.
Well, yeah, look what happened to the Catholic Church. They got slapped so hard they almost didn't recover. And it was just the early, like 19, in the early America, the Catholic Church was not welcomed here. It was, in fact, Kennedy was our first Catholic president. And we really frowned on Catholicism and on Catholics in general because of their want to make other people do what they wanted them to do, much like Islam.
I need to interject here just briefly that of course means the early United States, because when it comes to the early America, the Catholics got there before all the rest of you.
Well, the Puritans, the people that landed on Plymouth Rock, sir, were not Catholic. They were anti-Catholic, as a matter of fact.
Yes, but Christopher Columbus and
he wasn't. He just said that. Oh, okay, and I'll just say this. Christopher Columbus was an atheist. He appealed to people that would give him money. Did
this also apply to Pizarro and Cortez?
Well, yes, I would think so. Pizarro, yes, Pizarro went and slaughtered the daggone South Americans for gold. I wouldn't say, and yes, he used God, but I believe this. I can't prove it, but I believe if we could transport ourselves back, 250 years to see Pizarro there and be like, hey, do you believe in God? I think Pizarro would look at you in Britisher and say, really? No, I believe in gold. Gold is my God.
Well, actually,
I'm not trying to derail it. That's
if I can, just something that Doppelganger said before about, he used that word disappointment. And I think that may, to a certain extent, play into things, but not necessarily on the spiritual level. It may actually begin psychologically with a much more worldly view.
Yeah.
I mentioned this in one of my videos once. I don't remember which one. It's ages ago. There is some guy in Sweden who came from Syria, and he actually started making videos on YouTube for other Arabs. And in some cases, he made quite satirical pieces, like, you know, every day going out to pluck the money tree and things like that. Because what he was doing, he was making fun of the attitudes his compatriots seem to have about what life would be like in the West. And they really think they're all going to have a BMW, and they're all going to live in a house, and they're all going to have money, and they're all going to have a beautiful woman, and they're all going to... And it is well possible that they come over here with these sky-high expectations that can never be met, and then are deeply disappointed when they end up in some dorm somewhere in Gothenburg.
When they find out all that we got is a bunch of bacon.
And then from there, that disappointment may then be channeled into that other world, that spiritual world, if you know what I mean.
It makes me think of people wanting to go to California for the gold rush, man. Anytime you believe there's just gold in the streets, because Britisher, everybody thinks that you're so rich. I did too, and all this. So you have a BMW and a mansion on the hill, Brett, right? Because you live
a mansion.
What don't you have like a 30-bedroom mansion with like 25 bathrooms and live on some idyllic a hillside with a flock of sheep? And
no.
Look, Ogre.
It's not a mansion. We wouldn't have been able to extend the castle beyond the moat to put a mansion on it, if you understand what I mean.
Oh, I'm sorry. So everybody is right, but everyone can't live like you do, sir. I mean, but you've been a Britisher your whole life, and retained your Britishness, living abroad in the whole 9 yards. And so I would say this: anyone, Muslim or otherwise, that thinks they're going to go to some Western country and it's going to be peaches and cream, they're crazy. But I'll say it again: there is no one poor in Britannia. Because if you can't make it, they will give you money. They will give it to you. They'll give you like a housing dole and a food dole and all these doles, and they dole it out. And you can't get that back in Syria. And if you think you can, just go on back there and stay.
The welfare system is much more aggressive in Britain than it is in America, because it's pretty bad here, I would say.
It is not the same. You're right. I mean, it's still to this. It's not good here, Clint, for you and I. But if I was Mexican and just came here from Mexico, or if I was anything except for Israeli or British or French or any of these things, if you come here, then you do or die or get out. But if you're from the Middle East, or if you're from Mexico or Venezuela or some other middle, down there, of course we'll dole it right out. And but you're right, Clint. I'm not trying to argue. It's so much easier, in my opinion, Britisher, and I might be wrong. In England, if you're hurting, don't they just help you?
So I'm not sure that is really still the case. I think to a certain extent it may have been once, but nowadays I think you've got a great many more hoops to jump through.
From what I gather, what Ogre just said, basically we are victims here of our own bigotry of low expectations, in that we don't expect much from the immigrants, and we are ready to just give them anything and everything. And in that way, we basically end up being victims of just that bigotry.
Well, and certain immigrants, Doppelganger, because if you come here from Kolot, if you come here from your home planet to America, I guarantee you they'd expect a lot out of you, sir.
Oh yeah, I would have to work hard.
Yeah.
In any case, I wanted to. Oh, sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
No, it just made like this whole discussion about how we are willing to help out. We are willing to help out. Like the disenfranchised people. It just makes me think of a little bit of a happenstance that happened during my weekend. Basically, I was with my significant other, with my lady, and I was busy searching for a nest for both of us. So basically, we were doing a lot of running errands, and basically we were a lot on the subway, and crossed paths with a homeless person, basically who asked for money. And my lady decided to not give money, but to give basically a restaurant check, basically a form of payment that can only buy you food in a restaurant or buy you food in a supermarket. So it's not money per se; it's money only for food. And the guy just got belligerent and just really got like frustrated and belligerent. And I basically looked at the guy and said, "Look, dude, if you don't want me to call you out on potential suspicion of alcoholism and so on and so forth, you should consider yourself lucky that my wife wants to give you a restaurant check. Because if it was for me, I would give money, not to you, but to an association in charge of homeless people. That would be a much more well-invested bunch of money to help you out. Because on my own, the money will only solve your hunger. But my money mutualized with all of the money of all of the people to a homeless shelter, to a shelter of homeless people, that's what's going to get you out of the mud."
Yeah, well said. I hate to ask this, but how did it? I mean, you just kind of said it, but because let me tell you a very quick story. Years ago in 1992, my brother and I were in Orlando, Florida, and we were doing my uncle's roof. We were ripping off the shingles, and there was all these guys. It was new then, but they had signs on almost every corner, "We'll work for food." So we went to this place on I-4 and 436 in Orlando, Florida. And every corner there was one. So we gathered up 4 of them. It's like, "Come over here." And they all came over there, their signs up. I don't know what they thought, but I think I found out. And we were like, "Hey, we'll work for food. We will give you each $50 a day, 3 meals, a place to sleep for 2 days is what it took. And then when it's over, you can go your way." They all looked at us and said, "We don't do that." I said, "Your sign says we'll work for food." My brother is more like the Britisher, and I'm more like the Ogre. And I was like, "Your sign says you'll work." I was 15. I was so indignant. I was like, "Your sign says you'll work for food." No, we don't do that. And I'll tell you. So my question is, what did it make you feel like when you offered, your woman offers a way to eat, and you got to know, "I don't want that. I want your cash."
Oh, that's what I said basically, is that I was furious on the inside, and I was like, "Look, dude, like, take that check before I said politely, "Take that check before I punch you." That's what I said basically. I basically said, like, "Take that check and go buy yourself a meal before I punch your face."
Well, and Jeremy and everyone else, can everyone not see that what's happening when you have at this point second generation Muslims going and doing all these horrific things? Isn't that just a level worse? It's saying, "I'm here in England, I'm here in France, I'm in Nice, and a beautiful Nice, what a beautiful place. And no, not only am I not going to assimilate, but I'm going to run a truck through people." Isn't that like a step worse? We got to do something about this, man.
We got to shame them, man. That's just brutal, right?
Well, that relates back to the poverty mentality I was kind of mentioning, and I think it was Mark or a Britisher who corrected what I was ultimately trying to get to. It's they have something beautiful and then they want to destroy it, but for whatever reason, so they may feel comfortable because they're not liking what they have already. So they got to think they've got to have it the way they used to have it.
Well, which is the place they ran away from.
Exactly.
And you know what, folks? I could let this go on forever, but I think we've had a good discussion on many things, and I've got 9 more minutes. So what I'm going to do is, I had this idea that I got from someone else I won't name right now, but I'm just going to ask each person on the panel, starting with Jeremy, And this can be a hero that resides in comic books. It can be a hero. It can be any hero, someone you look up to and you model your life after. And maybe this is the problem in Islam. I'm not doing this for no reason. This is not for nothing. Don't think I'm segueing away from this to just go into comic books or whatever. It's because I really feel like the only hero these people have is their imams and their false god. So who do you look up to? What hero do you have, and how do they impact your life? Jeremy.
What hero do I have personally?
Yep. Could be mother, could be anyone. I don't want to lead you. Anybody, and how have they impacted your life, Jeremy?
Well, he's not really well known. It was a role model for me, but it has to be my personal mentor when it comes to informative technology. The guy basically taught me a lot about basically a lot of my mentality comes from him. Like this guy could have been a comic book character, really. But yeah, he was a nice man. He had a little bit of a ritual every year to celebrate the anniversary of his arrival in northern France. He would wear the clothing that he had on his butt when he arrived in France, and have in his pocket the exact amount of French money that he had when he arrived in France.
Wow, it's beautiful, man.
And so he impacted your life by letting you know that you could live by only taking what you needed. Tell us how he impacted your life.
Well, he basically taught me to be not just tech savvy, but to basically tell to me every bit of technology that you want to basically put in place and that you want to deploy inside a company. You need to always keep it as simple as possible. Technology should be at the service of man, not the other way around. And also, he taught me how to be humble, how to remain humble, and how to also always keep my ass on check on the fact that, yeah, you know shit. You know a lot of stuff about technology, but you're talking on a constant basis to people that has not decided to learn all of what you've learned. So do not take anything that you know as something that is a given and that is self-evident. Every part of your skill is something that you acquired through learning your craft. Anybody you work for, they're paying you because they don't want to learn. It's not a bad thing that they don't want to learn. It's that this is a path of life that they have not chosen for themselves. So he taught me how to not be an asshole to people that don't know technology.
And we're going to go down the line. So we have a mentor in business, and I'm assuming, and look, I got to talk to you later because you've been incognito, but I want to get the controller you said, but it's got to plug into a USB. So we'll talk about that later. So, and what a wonderful thing. Somebody that taught him how to use technology. And I'm assuming that's why you're so against anything that would destroy net neutrality, because you do believe, I know it from listening to you, that we need to have a free and open interwebs. Thank you so much, Jeremy. So Doppelganger, same question to everybody.
Unfortunately, my answer will be weird in that it's not a single person. It's the anonymous internet user on the other side of the world, and I mean it really. In that I've spent countless hours, basically years by this point, talking with all kinds of people from all around the world, and usually without ever getting to know their name or their face, and yet here we were connected pretty much randomly, and we were talking about anything and everything really, and it's been a wild ride. I've met some crazy people. I've met some awesome people. Obviously, some boring people just as well. In any case, I had this strange luck to usually end up among betters than myself, and I mean really, really betters. So, two things I got from all of that is, one, always try to find something interesting in people around you, because if you search long enough, you will find people with some awesome experiences, with some awesome skills. Basically people to look up to. And another one is basically the new generation will be awesome. I'm talking to some basically kids like 16-year-old, 18-year-old on Discord those days, and they talk sense. They make thorough analysis. They make good points, and basically, if it weren't for the current Islamization of Western countries, at least some of them, I would be fully content that the future is bright.
Yeah, one of those for me is Drunken Sailor. What an awesome young girl.
Yeah. She's one of the bunch.
Yep. And so that's awesome. We have someone that taught somebody that how to deal in business and to love freedom with technology. We have Doppelganger. I don't know your age, and I don't even care to guess it, but that it finds relief in finding interesting people of a young age on the internet. So I'm going to roll right on down the line.
Well, let me reemphasize. It's not just about younger people. It's about all kinds of people, basically. Yeah. Really, the point was only that the new generation is shaping up well.
Yeah, I shouldn't have wrapped it up quite that way, but I got it. You meet all these interesting people online. So what you're saying is the interwebs has basically become a mentor or a hero of sorts for you, and that you find all these diverse ideas that you can relate to your own self in your life.
Yes.
Well, all right. So how about it, Kofefe? Roll.
All right, man. Well, I definitely agree with that, because finding y'all online and just talking with, like, finding an actual community, I think that's benefited me and my mental health with going through this crazy net of politics, which is nuts. So finding like-minded individuals that I could talk with on here is awesome. I agree with that. Is my grandfather and me when I had hair when I was just a little red, right there.
Oh, that's just the face of joy here.
Yeah, one more time, brother. I'm presenting everybody. If you could just hold that picture up one more time.
Yeah.
This is I got. Let me try to get rid of that.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
My grandpa and me when I was a little boy, little red. But anyway, my father and my grandfather just teaching me how, and I'd say are my number one heroes. But I got to give a shout out to those are my my real heroes, I guess you could say. Then I got people like this gentleman right here, Mr. Dimebag Darrell.
Yeah.
Who is like my demigod, if you will. You know what I mean? Like my comic book character hero to live up to. Never said an ill word about anybody, and just did his business and shredded the earth. So I'll leave you guys with that.
Oh, thank you so much, Review the Earth. As a matter of fact, Clint, we're probably going to talk about rock and roll heroes Wednesday. If you could join us, that'd be great. If you can't, I'll understand. But we did the comic book thing today. I'm going to roll through different stuff, and this Wednesday will be rock and roll and metal heroes. Thank you so much for showing up, friend. I really appreciate you being here. As a matter of fact, as a Michigander, I've got to say you're the only person that I know that looks more terrifying than I do.
That's what I'm talking about, bud.
All right. But from day to day, you're beginning to look more alike, which is
yeah. He does look like my big badass brother, doesn't he? So we're just going to roll along. So if you're here, Finer Point, I'm not sure if you're with us or if you're just here chilling. Hero, how they impact your life? In 5, 4, 3. Okay, I didn't know if he would be here or not. And I'm going to save you for last, Britisher, because I love you. So Zero Cool, same question.
Zero.
Yeah, I'm here. I just had my mute button on.
Okay.
It's everybody else y'all talking, so I just kept my mouth shut. In this order: my father, my mother, who came back from the hospital and she's doing great. My grandpapa, my grandmama, my uncle, who got me into reading and comics and everything. David Ellefson of Megadeth, and fictional-wise, Superman, Batman, and most importantly, Wonder Woman. And I'm done.
Love David Ellefson, man. Love Megadeth.
Yeah, no, good, and that's good. I would just say, if I can ask you just quickly, how did they impact your life? Just quickly.
My parents chose to adopt me. My uncle chose to help me learn to read when I couldn't and was struggling with those kind of things and got me into comic books. The other stuff I've explained at the beginning of this live stream, and David Ellefson for showing me that no matter how much you get in the hole, that you can dig yourself out and stay the course.
Oh, thank you so much. And Britisher, take as much time as you need, whatever. We all did. So I want to know the same from you.
I'll
Sir.
be
I'm not going to
dreadfully-
dig. I'm not going to dig before you start. But
I'll be
don't give me
dreadfully-
the old 2-second answer, Britisher. Who did you look up to?
I'll be dreadfully disappointing because I can't really think of any past heroes. So what I will do is I will think of a current hero who actually has just tweeted or reacted to a tweet this evening, pretty much as we were speaking, and I will put the address. I'll put the address to that on, and if that isn't good enough, then I don't know what is. If you present that.
Oh, I'm working on it right now as we speak feverishly. So you're saying to me, which I understand because he's also one of my heroes, that Count Dankula is a hero of yours.
He is definitely a present-day hero of mine. I think he is standing up quite remarkably to the pressure he's under.
And you're not going to get out of it that easy, everybody. Just let him answer this question. The last part, how has he impacted your life, Brett?
By providing a perfect example of being stalwart under pressure, of not buckling, of not giving way.
That's
when
good.
it would be so much easier.
And I won't press you all day. I'm just going to say this, that when I see that...
At least it tickled Jeremy.
Oh, it tickled me
made
too,
me laugh when I saw it the first time.
I am not a. I gotta admit, as a practitioner of martial arts, I am not a fan of catch. You know, I'm not really a wrestling fan, but I would pay for this match. I would pay, and I would pay for being a front row.
I would too, very much so.
Well, I've got to say, even though it's amazing to me in a way that the Britisher picked this guy, not because he's going to be one of my heroes that I will mention, but because vastly different individuals are the Britisher and Dankula. One smokes marijuana, is crazy. He's outspoken. He's loud. He does show a little emotion.
I don't smoke marijuana.
Not you.
I was going to say, and then there's Count Dankula. We all know the Queen's on something.
y'all ruined my spiel. That was, but yes. And then there's the other one, Count Dankula. No. And then there's you, Britisher, who shows little emotion. And you've seen it in Dank the first time with the one where he's like, Dankula, yes. You know, and and that's the only time I really seen even Dankula, as much as I want to twist him into an American and make him like myself and like Zero Cool is the only one I'll really reference in this aspect, a person that will do, but he's not. Even though he's different, he is that man with the stiff upper lip. He's very British, very British. He has taught me a lot. So I am going to wrap it up here, folks, unless somebody has one last word. Oh, thank goodness, because I'm ready to go.
Do yourselves a favor. Go out, see the new Wonder Woman movie. Enjoy the bright colors that are in this movie. Don't take it too seriously. It was totally worth the pay. If you can see it, go see it. And
I heard Jeremy trying to speak up there.
Yeah, I wanted to say, like, Review showed us a photo of him with his granddad. I can tell you, any of the motherfuckers willing to blow themselves up, no matter what reason they give for wanting to blow themselves up, I can tell you right off the bat, I don't even need to go to their homes. They don't have those family pictures. They don't. Probably not. They don't. Yeah, they have no ancestors.
Very much so, in that, yeah, family really shapes up people's lives. In any case, I wanted to mention, I'll be taking a week or 2 weeks kind of vacations from YouTube. Need to rest a bit from all this activity. It's been a drain, very both informative and entertaining, nonetheless a drain. So I hope to see you around once in a while, and I'll be back.
All right, Dop, I'll be looking to see you. And yes, it's a drain on me too, but I feel a certain responsibility to at least do the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday show. Why? Because there's a few people that watch it. I don't know why, but they do. And as long as they do, I will continue to do what I'm doing. So I'm going to wrap it up, folks. And I'm just going to thank everybody. Jeremy, Doppelganger, the finer point, Clint, you're second to none. Britisher, what a great mate. Zero Cool, I don't even know what to say. I'm not the words. But I'm going to say this. My parents did the best they could for me. They did everything they could for me. They spent a fortune on my education. They spent untold hours worrying about their insane boy, and they probably still do. There was a time when I wouldn't listen and I wouldn't do right. And I spent 3 years in a military academy. I won't say the name, but it was at a time when they were still monkeying around with this idea of PPC, positive peer culture. And the adults where I was at, they didn't do much. We decided when our bedtime was, when we had to go to class on time, we had things that we had to do on time, but we decided everything outside of the set schedule of school, gym, football, floor hockey, all these things. We had to be at these things. Outside of that, we decided if we didn't get to class on time because we decided to stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning watching old horror movies, we paid the penalty as a group. If we won the floor hockey tournament, which Besser Cottage did very often, in fact, we won all the trophies. We got praised as a group. There's a problem happening right now. My heroes are among me as we speak. I don't hang around with a lot of people in the real world, but the ones that I do, they're my heroes. I choose my heroes from among my peers. Why do I do this? What, you lost your mind, Ogre? You're not going to see your grandfather? I've already mentioned him on other streams. You're not going to see your father? Of course, my father is my ultimate hero. You're not going to see your God? I've never met him. I'm going to say that to quell this insurrection, to stop this insanity, to bring an end to this religio-political movement, they have to come into the fold. We've already invited them into the fold. They're already here. They just haven't become a peer. They hold themselves aloof. They're avast there. Somewhere else. They sequester themselves in their own communities. They won't become part of the group. Am I Islamophobic? Of course I am. But Islamophobia doesn't explain how I feel. I have a rational fear of people that want to rape my wife and force her to wear a polyester black mask. Listen, folks, get with your peers. Love them, respect them, listen to them, give them your opinions. We have to come together as a community. A greater community, yes. Am I a globalist? No. I hate the Rothschild. I'm not even going to get into that. No. We need to have a community. We have to have our peers that have our backs. Would I have made the decisions I've made over the last 15 days if it weren't for the peers that I love and respect and look up to? No. I wouldn't be where I'm at now. I wouldn't have the guitars. I wouldn't have anything. Nothing. Not even my life. If I hadn't listened to reason to my peers. So look, folks, as you gather your community together this coming week, as you gather them around you, as you try to come up with solutions to the problems in life, remember this. Be good to your friends. Be good to your family members. Be good to your loved ones. Be quick to say you're sorry. Be even quicker to accept an apology, especially when that thing your friend, your family member, your loved one has done seems to be so huge, you'll never be able to forget about it. Because constant viewers, brother Muslims, at a time you think not, your friends, your family members, your loved ones, your life, your cause, and Muhammad and Allah himself will depart from you. Sydney Rough Diamond, to arms, to arms. The barbarian is at the gate.